I know these are the corporate colors, but I was just hoping that we'd be able to get the orange signs up for today. I mean, I got to go on the air and just like now, no orange signs. Well, we'll have to reconcile that some way. Yeah, all right, sorry. Bye. Welcome to National Canada's first Reconciliation Day, and we're going to be talking more about that as we are resplendent in our orange here for Season 2, Episode 39 of Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. That's me. We are fueled by Gales Gas Bars, as per usual. We thank them. Also supported by our other sponsors. You don't have to hurry, it's your street too. That's okay. Performance Heating and Air, Verge Insurance, and of course Enwick, Niagara's high-speed internet. We still need some trimming here, City of St. Catharines. And we are headed down to Fiddler's Poorhouse, 149 St. Paul Street, west. That's where, well, not west, yeah, west is like that way. Also, WeeStream is the power behind this. Kevin Jack, our executive producer, will introduce you to him again in just a couple of minutes. We are going to have a very interesting program on the day today because obviously the Truth and Reconciliation Day. We're going to be getting into that, but also the mom of Alex and Paige, whose dad took them to the East Coast not too long ago. So we're going to head into Fiddler's Poorhouse right here, right now, and hopefully you can get settled in and join us. It's also an open program when we don't have a special guest scheduled, and we'll tell you how you can participate in that. So let's get underway here on this cool but nice fall day in downtown St. Catharines. Season 2, Episode 39, just around the corner.
All right, it's go time, brother.
Hey, sorry, I was otherwise occupied for just a second, making sure that we had all of our connections up and ready to go. And the gentleman you do see on the extreme right of your program is my friend and our executive producer and one of the head honchos, along with Brandon Scram, of WeeStream, Niagara's, Ontario's, Canada's premier streaming service. By the way, happy belated birthday to Kevin's partner Brandon Scram as well. Didn't want to forget that. And to you
as well.
Yes, to me too. Yeah, another trip around the sun. It seems to me those trips around the sun are getting faster. I don't know whether I'm just getting better at it.
It's global warming.
Man. But my father always used to say that I never understood it when I was a kid. Yeah, well, when you get older, time goes faster. How can that be? Time is time. But he was right. He was definitely right. Well, again, welcome to National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. It is Canada's first, and it will be happening on September 30th this year and every year following. And there's been a lot of conversation about it, as there should be. What it means. How are we to recognize it? How are we to feel about it? How much of it is provincial? What do we do as far as statutory holiday status and things of that nature are concerned? How much is federal? So I think as the years go by, and perhaps as soon as next year, we'll have the little wrinkles sorted out, and we'll have a better understanding of how we can legitimately recognize a very, very important day. Kevin, it was kind of heartening. It made me smile. I was driving south on Lake Street coming into the set here today at Fiddler's Poorhouse, and I can't remember the name of the school, but there is an elementary school that backs right onto Lake Street here in downtown. And all the kids were outside at a recess, and they're all in orange. They were all in their orange T-shirts. So this had to have been something. It was either a board thing or a school thing that, and all the teachers, the supervisors, they were also wearing their orange Every Child Matters t-shirts. And it just kind of made me smile and say, hey, this is good. We're getting them young, you know. By getting them young, I mean just trying to ingrain the importance of these things into young children who may not totally understand what's going on, but they know something's important, and that's good. We're going to have on that line about 10 to 1 today, about 12:50 on the program, we're going to be speaking with Wayne Kretz. Wayne is sort of a dual purpose guest here. And I'm sorry, that's not, we are going to have Wayne on, but that's not the gentleman.
Brian Kahn.
Brian Kahn. I skipped 2 names down, I'm sorry. Brian Kahn also has 2 titles. Indigenous lead at the Niagara Catholic District School Board, as well as a center for the Niagara region, on the Niagara Region Métis Council. All right. So with apologies to Brian and to Wayne for mixing you up, Brian Kahn will be here at about 12:30 today. So, with that in mind, and Wayne Kretz will be here. Totally different subject, and we'll fill you in on what's happening there. He's the owner of Manhattan's restaurant here in St. Catharines, as well as the owner and the person that operates Niagara Sports Trips. And there's kind of an interesting story there too. So those are our scheduled guests, and other than that, we might have another couple of people clicking on to join us today. Probably the single most talked about story in the past month, 2 months, was the story of Dad Clayton Misener spiriting off his 2 daughters, Alex and Paige. They were finally located overseas, technically, although it's very, very close to Canada, these 2 small islands that are indeed French islands. Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, right, Kevin's zeroing in here, right there, just almost just a short ferry ride from Newfoundland, just a short ferry ride from the country of Canada, but they are indeed French islands, as in France. Over the course of the past week, we got in touch with Alex and Paige's mom, and we're absolutely thrilled about the fact that she is going to be joining us here today. Kelly Campbell is her name. She is joining us right now, and I want to make sure that I can hear her. Good afternoon, Kelly.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just great, thank you. And likewise, I'm sure you can see and hear us all right?
I can hear you perfectly, but sometimes the internet connection here is a bit spotty.
Okay. Well, hearing me is good enough. Looking at me is not always a pleasure. So, where are you right now yourself?
Right now, I am on the island of St. Pierre.
Okay.
There is a little separate island that's Miquelon.
Yep.
But right now, I am in St. Pierre, where the children are.
Okay, Kelly, I want to wind you back right to the very beginning, if you would, because as you have already experienced, there is a lot of information, misinformation, innuendo, guesswork, etc., that surround your story and the story of your family. And we're really excited that you can come here and tell us exactly what happened from your perspective as the mom. So can you walk us right back to day one here about your family and what took place?
2 years ago, I started court proceedings to obtain full custody of my children, as my current husband and I had some concerns, which we brought to facts, and they did an investigation as well, and we proceeded to go through the very excruciatingly slow court system to try to gain custody of these children. During those 2 years, allegations came up. There were a lot of disagreements between Mr. Misener and myself about the way things should be done. We were not happy with the outcome of FACS's investigation into the care and well-being of our children. So we persevered to go through court. COVID has slowed down the court process. It took us probably about, I believe, 10 months or so to be able to get into court to do a custody trial. But in August, we received, Mr. Misener had been keeping my children from me for about 18 months, contrary to a court order that I was supposed to have visitation. We did receive a court order on August 12th that was the visitation was to commence, and it was police enforceable. And when I attended his home to pick up the children for access with the police, we found out he had left his home 2 days prior with the children, and nobody knew where they were.
Okay. What was it? You said in the beginning, you and the child's father did not agree with the original decision or finding that had taken place. What was it about that? What was that decision that that neither one of you agreed with?
The very first thing we disagreed with was the amount of school that the children were missing. So 3 years ago now, for 2 years in a row, the children were missing in excess of 45 days a year for school. And we didn't think his excuses were appropriate. And he also was not taking them to ordered counseling sessions. They were having a lot of anxiety and issues, and we were trying to come to the bottom of that.
Okay. So did he have custody of Alex and Paige at that time?
They resided with him primarily, but we have always had joint custody.
Okay. All right, so let's come back to where you finished your statement there. When you went to pick up Alex and Paige, they were gone, nobody knew where they were, and then began what must have been sort of like a little trip through hell for you. Walk us through the next period of time.
Absolutely, it's been hell. And I have to say as well, if I could backtrack a little bit, is that when we originally contacted FACS and they visited Clayton's home, even though my husband was the person who called, even though he asked to remain anonymous, they told Clayton it was my husband that called. And since then, he has made it his mission to destroy our reputation, to come forth with horrendous allegations that are absolutely not true, and trying to essentially break the family bond that I have with my children. And I'm sorry to say that he has succeeded. But the day after I was supposed to pick them up, I called Niagara Regional Police to do a welfare check on the children. And they attended his home, and his mother was not home at the time, but she returned home and spoke to the officer and said that he had left with the children in her car on Wednesday, and she did not know where they were, and that was all she was going to say. So there began a plea to the Niagara Regional Police to consider that the children were missing. There was a previous court order in place that he was not to remove them from Ontario. Neither of us were. Okay. And I knew that he had passports for them as well. So the concern is that he was running from the police enforced visitation, as well as the court ordered that he was to undergo a psychiatric evaluation. The judge felt that there was something psychologically going on, and there was some concern about his being able to make decisions with regards to the children. Okay. He was supposed to have that evaluation done by tomorrow, October 1st.
Kelly, there was much made of, as you are well aware, I'm sure, of you alluded to your current relationship. Can you tell us about your current relationship? Because Your partner was, is he now your husband, or just, what is the current status?
He's my husband.
Okay. And he has been referred to in some pretty derogatory terms through social media. And the fact that a lot of people believed or said that the father had removed the children from a toxic atmosphere. Could you speak to that for us?
Absolutely. So we warned facts that we thought Mr. Misener would bring up allegations of a heinous manner, and he proved us right when a couple of months later he took the children to the police to lay sexual abuse allegations. There was an investigation with OPP immediately. Mm-hmm. My husband was questioned by police, I was questioned by police, and the children were brought in as well. They described an embrace, a hug, that we would give them at nighttime. And so no further investigation was warranted, no charges were laid. It was explained to us that the children were maturing and were no longer comfortable with a hug. Now, since that hug, it has evolved over the last 18, 19 months into apparently groping, inappropriate touching, and that, worries about rape.
Okay, so let's flash forward again to where Mr. Misener and Alex and Paige were located on the French islands of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon. And Saint-Pierre is where you are right now, you said, correct?
Correct,
yeah.
Yes.
So, and then, so that is where you are. Where are the children? Where is their father? What's happening behind the scenes? Bring us up to date now with that part of the story.
Sure. So the children are here. They're being hosted by a family in St. Pierre, essentially under the social services group here, similar to what FACS would be in the Niagara region. Yeah. So they're with their host family. Mr. Misener is here as well. He, despite facing extradition to Canada, is allowed to walk around this island and be free as long as he checks in to the police station a couple of times a week.
Can you see your children?
I have asked to see my children every day. However, they are continuing to refuse to see me right now.
Sorry, I cut you off there a second. You said that Mr. Misener is allowed to walk around the island, and then I cut you off. What were you about to say?
He just has to check into the police station a couple of times a week, and he has to promise not to leave the island of St. Pierre. Okay,
so I'm assuming that extradition processes are continuing. They're ongoing.
Extradition processes are continuing. They are trying to bring him back to Canada as soon as possible. I have been told that Mr. Misener is attempting to seek asylum from Canada, asylum here in France.
From the French government, yeah.
From the French government, because he is afraid they will be murdered if they come back to Canada. And he has indicated he will never return to Canada.
Okay, so while that is happening on his side of the legal system, you as Canada allowed before you went to pick them up and discovered them missing, you are technically, if I'm not correct, let me know, technically still entitled to custody. Am I correct on that, or is that whole thing gone out the window now?
Well, it is. However, the French, so we did have a hearing here on Monday and received results of that hearing yesterday. Yeah. The French judge cannot go by he cannot change or enforce what the as far as I'm aware, I could be
Right.
wrong or have misunderstood, but he cannot enforce or change what the Canadian government has done. His job is to ensure the safety of the children here in France
Right.
until we can ensure that they can go back to Canada.
So are your legal people, and I'm assuming you do have legal representation, are they in constant contact with the French authorities on this? Is it going okay? Is it lumpy? Like, how are you doing?
It's it's very difficult. There are a lot of people involved, and because this is a very unique situation, nobody quite knows the proper procedure to do things. So although
Okay.
there are a lot of people in the pot, not everybody knows what to do. So I think it's just getting through a bunch of paperwork and a lot of discussion between officials, because it is international.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, to get through the court process here. So my goal is for, of course, the children to be safe, but to have them return to Canada as soon as possible.
Kelly, have you ever been concerned even a little bit with the potential for any sort of inappropriate relationship between your current husband and your children?
Never. And if that were the case, we would have never married. If there was any indication of that, there would be no relationship between my husband and I.
How are the girls? You mentioned that Mr. Misener, you said, had attempted to, I guess, poison the relationship between you and your children, for the lack of a better word, and or keep you estranged from their perspective. You said he had succeeded at that. Is when you do see them, or if you do see them or talk to them, whatever contact you're allowed, how is the relationship between you and Alex and Paige?
So the term you're looking for is parental alienation.
There we go.
And it is there is a syndrome. It is documented severely, and it occurs across the world. And it's an unfortunate thing that can occur between parents, men and women, can do this to their children. And often it indicates that they have an underlying psychiatric condition.
Mm-hmm.
My goal eventually is to try to repair that break in our relationship so we can build trust again.
Right.
Right now, they believe everything their father is saying, and why wouldn't they? He's their parent. He's supposed to tell them the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You expect your parent to love and care for you and tell you the truth with everything, but somehow that got broken between us, and I'm not exactly sure how, but my goal is to try to repair that.
Sure, it would be, yeah.
I certainly don't want to ignore it. It's not something that, as a parent, I feel I can step back and wait for them to mature and they'll come back to me when they're older. It doesn't work like that. There will be a very long road ahead of us with counseling and
sure.
unification. Yeah.
Okay. Kelly Campbell, thank you very, very much. A lot of people in your situation would probably feel like just digging a hole and not coming out for a while, but we do really appreciate the fact that you have shared your story with us. Hopefully social media will be kind to you, your children, their father, and all the people that are involved in this, and just let the system and their parents sort these things out. And I guess the two words that we would hope that people would follow is to just be kind and help along the way, because I'm sure you've had some rather torturous days. So we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, and stay in touch, will you, Kelly? Keep in touch with Kevin behind the scenes or whatever, so that as your story unfolds, we can continue to bring to shine the proper light on the truth, on this Truth and Reconciliation Day for another whole different reason. Hopefully you can keep us posted. Thanks.
Thank you. I will.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah, you too, Kelly. Thank you. And the organization that she was referring to, you probably already know this when she was saying facts throughout the interview, just in case it was not clear to you. That's Family and Children's Services. That's the organization that gets involved whenever there are situations such as these in families. So that's the facts reference. Kevin, one cannot imagine what the stress level must be of parents that both love their kids. I mean, you know.
So it's terrible because in 2 weeks we've shared both sides of a story and the truths are
diametrically opposed. Yeah. Well, again, over time, it's going to take, as Kelly said, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of conversation, a lot of professional assistance all around to get past this stage, especially for those for the girls.
Lee, just a programming note here. We do have a bunch of people that have hopped into the waiting room. Maybe you want to touch on the Clayton Misener, the Kelly Campbell story that is unfolding here in front of us. We do have some time set aside here, though, to talk to Brian Kahn about Truth and Reconciliation Day. He's in the waiting room.
Excellent.
So if anybody has clicked on and you want to join the program, we will find time for you. Okay, but we do have some scheduled guests, so we got to get to Brian. But just hold on, you're in the right place, and we'll get to you.
Thank you for that, Kevin, for bringing people up to date, and thank you to those folks that have clicked in to participate in the program today. And we also will take a moment before we bring Brian on here to thank our always patient and loyal sponsors fueling this program, Gales Gas Bars, as they have fueled Niagara for decades before and decades going forward. So to Jessica Friesen, CEO, and everybody at Gales, thank you so much for your support as our title sponsor of the program. Also, Carlo and the gang, Performance Heating and Air, saving you money on your HVAC bills and systems because they have families here too. Enwick, high-speed internet. Niagara, probably one of a kind with a company like this. So especially if you have issues with internet in or out or a little shaky or something of that nature, check them out. Give Enwick a call and I'm sure that they can help you out. Also, Mark Shirk and his troop at Verge Insurance Group, another Niagara founded and run and managed company. All of these people and their companies and many others are here simply to service Niagara, as are we here at Niagara 411 Live with Lee Sterry. That's me, Kevin Jack, our executive producer. WeeStreem providing the technology and expertise to bring this into your homes and around the world. Also to Nick and those of you who are his followers and contributors at Niagara 411. And I want to holler a shout out to Nick and Nick's mom and dad who are way over there. Hi, guys. They come in to have lunch here at Fiddler's Poorhouse. Isn't that nice? Always appreciate your support. Now, moving along on this National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, the first of its kind, and it will continue every September 30th as we go forward. We bring along Brian Kahn. Brian is here in Niagara. He is an Indigenous lead. These are his two titles, Indigenous lead at the Niagara Catholic District School Board, as well as Senator at the Niagara Regional Métis Council. Brian, thanks for waiting for us and welcome to the show.
Tansy, hello.
Hey. Where are you right now?
I'm in Niagara Falls.
Okay. That's your home?
Yeah, and I'm running between different events throughout the day, so I made a pit stop here in order to make this appearance. Well,
I'm really glad that you did, because I know it's a very busy and important day, and that's where I want to start for you, Brian. And I know that the Métis people are just part of this large quilt of Indigenous peoples across Canada. And I don't expect you to speak for everyone, but you can give us a bit of a snapshot, if you will, of what this day means. So let's ask you that question. What does this day mean?
Well, very simply, it is the first day of Truth and Reconciliation, first National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. However, for the past 7-8 years, the day was actually known as Orange Shirt Day. And Orange Shirt Day started in 2013. A woman had the opportunity to speak to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and tell her story. She was one of 6,500 survivors of the Indian residential schools who were allowed to come forward and tell their experiences and their stories of their time at the schools.
Right.
And Phyllis Webstad, very simple story. Her grandmother brought her a brand new shirt to go to school, and on her first day of school, she wore that shirt. It was bright orange. It was cheerful. She was excited to be there. And the reason why she was excited, I have to take a step back. She was excited because all the other children in her community were taken away. So she knew that by going to this school, she would be where other children were. So that was why she was excited. But the moment she got to the school, they took away her orange shirt, they cut her hair, they put her through the process of delicing and showering and stripping her in front of everyone, and took away her shirt, and she never saw it again. So again, a simple story, but it's moved a nation, and right across this country and into the United States, people are recognizing September 30th as Orange Shirt Day.
Thank you for that background. What year was that again? You might have mentioned it and it might have gone completely by me, Brian. When did this happen?
So that was 2013.
2013. That sounds like something that would happen in 1813.
Well, okay, no, sorry. She was telling her story in 2013.
Okay.
Her story is actually not that old. She went to her school in 1973, I believe.
Wow.
So for many of your listeners, viewers, many of them were around at that time. The last Indian residential school closed in 1996. So again, it's not that long ago that this was a part of Canada's everyday, part of Canada's current life, not necessarily history.
And that is probably the kernel right there of information that those of us who were outside that world
Yes.
have a hard time wrapping our heads around, because we know where we were in 76, and we know where we were, at least some of us know where we were in 76, and we know where we were in 96, and that the fact that this system was still alive is really something that is hard for the general public, if you will, to percolate and wrap our heads around, isn't it? Really?
Well, absolutely. I've done public presentations, and this is, for a long time, this has been a part of my presentation when I talk about Indigenous issues, because it goes beyond the story of the Indian residential schools, but there's no denying that's a key component to it. But I have been publicly called a liar at presentations where people have said, my Canada would not do this to children. Yeah. So my response to the individual was, you didn't learn it in school, I didn't learn it in school, but talk to your grandchildren. It was obvious that the woman would be a grandmother, if not a great-grandmother. Mm-hmm. And so it was, talk to your grandchildren, because now they are learning it in school. It's part of Canada's history that is only in the last few years being looked at seriously. The warning signs for this has been long-standing. As far back as 1907. The medical doctor for the federal government, who actually toured some of the schools at the time, just prior to 1907, he came back and his report said it was nothing short of manslaughter, what he was witnessing in the schools, as far as the death rates of the Indigenous children.
Brian, there is much discussion, of course, about the tangible effect of, or lack of a tangible effect, of something like this National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The cynics would say, well, what good is it going to do? The people that would like to see it evolve into something positive would say, okay, well, it's all well and good to have this nice National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, but what's actually needed is definitive action. And then one would ask, what sort of action is desirable? What sort of action do people mean when they say something like that? Words are nice, but action is important. What kind of actionable things would you like to see, or would people in organizations like yours like to see, as opposed to just one day? How do we act on it?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things with that. So the fact that the federal government chose this day, which had been known as Orange Shirt Day, a grassroots movement by Indigenous people, but then the federal government took it over as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. So that's both a positive and a negative. It's increased awareness, but at the same time, it's taken away something that was grassroots. The day was a requirement. It was call to action number 80 out of the Truth and Reconciliation 94 calls to action. And it was calling for a national statutory, and I hate the word that's used, but it is used in the TRC, as a holiday. Right. And I ask people not to consider it a holiday. It is a day of reflection, remembering, and observance of the 150,000 children who were taken out of their homes and away from their families and communities and placed into these schools that put them at risk. Again, their own medical examiner said it was nothing short of manslaughter. So what's important is, going back to me being called a liar at one of my presentations, it's listen to the stories and realize that this is the truth of Canada's history. Or, again, I don't like to fully call it history, because there's also the intergenerational trauma that is following us ever since. Yeah. So listen to the stories, believe the stories. You can go online and you can put in Indian residential school survivors, and there are survivors who are telling their stories. And in some cases, it's very hard to hear. These are their truths. And again, some of the challenge is people are saying, no, that didn't happen. But no, listen to the voices of those who lived through it, and they're speaking their truth.
Then what do we do? How do we help? How do we affect change?
Well, there are 94 calls to action. And so a good starting point is to look at those calls to action. After interviewing over a period of 6 years, 6,500 different survivors of the Indian residential schools, the commission came up with these 94 calls to action, and 2 of them related to education. So the schools and the ministries of education across the country have taken that to heart, and that is part of the education process now. But there are many other areas that it intersects, as far as where you are in your community, what you do at your church, what you do in your sporting events, and so on. So take a look at the 94 calls to action. Again, they're online, and start to work toward. So the truth has been spoken. During the Truth and Reconciliation Commission hearings, the truth has been spoken. So now work towards the reconciliation. And there are 94 calls to action for that to happen. So read those and work towards those.
Okay. Brian Kahn, thank you so much for joining us. What is your next event today? Where are you jetting off to next?
Well, I've got a few events at schools that I'm running between, but tonight, Niagara Falls. For the past couple of years, we've been turning the falls orange in recognition of the Indian residential school survivors. This year, the falls are turning orange every hour on the half hour, starting at 6:30 this evening, and they'll stay orange for 15 minutes at a time, and then at 7:30, 8:30, and so on. In that 15 minutes, 10,000 children are being recognized and honored as the falls turn orange during that time period. So 10,000 children a minute.
And let us not lose sight of that Orange Shirt Day moniker either. Hopefully, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and Orange Shirt Day can be hand in hand going forward, because that's a story that we would never want to forget. So hopefully we can keep that going.
Shirt. I'm wearing my orange shirt. I see you're wearing an orange shirt. So there's a good start. So Thank you.
All right. Brian Kahn, Indigenous lead at the Niagara Catholic District School Board and Senator with the Niagara Region Métis Council. Again, appreciate your time on a very, very busy day, and may this be just the first step in a very long journey that's positive for everybody. Thank you, Brian.
Big Witch, thank you.
Bye. Yeah, okay. Some pretty deep-seated emotions were sort of stirring up here today, Kevin, on a number of different levels. We're going to lighten the mood a little bit later when Wayne Kretz joins us. Wayne is owner of Manhattan's Bar and Grill here on Vine Street in St. Catharines, but also he is owner and operator of an organization called Niagara Sports Trips, and that is the role in which we're going to be chatting with him mainly in just a few minutes about, well, you know, the draw of sporting events that are across the river, as they say here, and being across the river is a hard road to hoe these days, because Canadians can't go into the U.S. probably until at least October 21st. Americans can come here if they check off all the boxes, like vaccination proof and, you know, COVID testing negative and all that other stuff. But we can't go there.
Lee, just wanted to follow up on what Brian was saying and suggesting that we check out the 94 calls to action. I mean, simple Google here, 94 calls to action, and it brought up the actual document commissioned by the government. So you can read through this, you know, probably a long lead, 20 pages, PDF, and then, of course, you know, right below that, you know, you get CBC kind of synopsis type articles.
Right.
But,
right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's what Brian suggests, is that we familiarize ourselves with these 94 calls to action.
Yeah, so, and people speaking up for Indigenous rights said, hey, this is great, but action speaks louder than words. And that's been a cliche for a long time, and it still is, I believe, true. And if you're wondering what action they want, there they are, right there, 94 actionable items. So that's pretty tangible. You know, some of them are probably long-term and more culturally related, and cultural changes take generations. That doesn't happen overnight or within one political election term. But some of them are things that we can probably all address in our own little way, somehow.
Yeah, Lee, I love to see that people are getting used to us as part of the streetscape here in St. Catharines. We had a couple people walk by and wave, and one guy was doing some dance moves for us. So anything's welcome here on the backdrop of St. Paul. And, of course, Fiddler's Poorhouse is open just when we open the show at noon. Yeah. So feel free to swing by, see the show live, you know, in person, and grab something to eat. New menu coming out at Fiddler's.
And we are live. 100% live and in living color today, for sure.
Lee, do you want to talk? I mean, that thing went on 411 this morning about the statue, and we're just chomping at the bit to get to that.
Is that where you want to go? I was going to say I love this story. I don't love the story, but I just think it's so magnetic. This story, so many what ifs and whys and wherefores. Niagara Regional Police Service has released this statement on Niagara 411 and elsewhere. A historic statue stolen in Niagara Falls. Uniformed officers responded to the Drummond Hill Cemetery on Lundy's Lane near Drummond Road, Niagara Falls. Officers attended for a report of a stolen statue and vandalism. So it was reported to officers that a bronze statue of Lieutenant General Drummond had been stolen and vandalism found on the grounds. Now, the statue sat upon a bronze horse. The artifacts sat on a large concrete base. The theft of Lieutenant General Drummond would have been labor-intensive, they say. I would think so. Possibly involving a vehicle to transport the statue. Now, when you see the picture, any close-up picture makes things look larger than they actually are in real life. Now, that statue is only about 36 inches tall, the statue that was stolen. And the statue was stolen and separated from the horse.
That's what we're led to believe, right? I mean, it says the statue sat upon a bronze horse.
A horse. So we're thinking that the statue of Lieutenant Drummond itself was 36 inches tall, weighing about 330 pounds or something like that. Now, if that is so, I learned something about bronze statues that I didn't know before. I didn't know that they were separatable, if there is such a word. I didn't know you could take the guy off the horse. Like, I thought the horse and the guy were sculpted together, or whatever you call it, however you do bronze statues.
Maybe they're bolted together, Lee.
Maybe they were bolted.
Well, where would the bolt be?
I don't know. Well, this is the thing that makes it an interesting question. And who and why would you go to the trouble to separate the guy from? Well, I guess the horse must have been way too heavy. But who wanted this thing? Back in the caveman days of university students, I remember that there were always pranks that one perhaps fraternity house would play on another, or one like the engineering students would play on the architectural students, or whatever the heck it is. And they'd steal each other's mascots or whatever, like juvenile university kid stuff. Is it something like that, I wondered? Like, was somebody up for a dare and said, okay, as part of your hazing, you gotta steal a statue? I don't know. I'm just guessing here. Don't make that reality now. Don't come out on Facebook or Niagara 411 Live and said Sterry said it was some sort of university. He's blaming university students. I'm not at all. I'm just.
How do you do this, and how do you get away with it?
Yeah.
I mean, you would have had to have welding torches or grinders. You'd have to have tools and a big truck, like they said, 330 pounds. It's not easy to lift.
No.
So the NRP are asking, metal recyclers to keep their eyes peeled.
Oh, you wouldn't want it. You just wouldn't take it and melt it down. Would somebody actually do that for the? What is melted down bronze worth? Anything?
Well, they said it must be worth $10,000.
Oh, they say that? Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, they say that the value of the statue.
Oh, there it is. Yeah,
over 10 grand. So I'm assuming that's in the bronze.
Well, it can't be a collectible, can it?
Now, this Drummond guy, he's not in the collection of former slave traders or slave owners or anything like that.
Apparently, he's one of the few statues in Canada of a good guy. all the others are being knocked down, and we got a good guy here, we think, and now he's stolen. What do you do with it? Where do you store it? What's that? What's that in your garage, Biff?
That's my friend.
Oh, that's my friend, Lieutenant Drummond. Oh, okay. Member of the family? Well, used to be. I don't know. Speaking of used to be, and we've been talking about missing people, etc., in Niagara. Really, really positive ending to a story of two girls that had been missing for a couple of days, 12 and 14 years old respectively. They were located and found safe, so that's great. That announcement came out earlier today, or later yesterday on Niagara 411, so that's awesome. But we are still missing Darren Werner, or Werner, Werner. Missing man from Niagara-on-the-Lake. This is the gentleman that went out for a cycle. Correct, Kevin? Went out for a bicycle ride?
They're not really sure.
Or was he in his car? I can't remember. There were a couple
not 100% sure as to what preceded him going missing, but they're still searching for him, and it's very disturbing as it stretches into, I think, a second week now.
Yeah.
In his 50s, I believe.
Yeah. And
not
a trace.
Lee, we are going to get to Wayne Kretz here in just a couple of seconds, but as promised, if anybody wants to come on the show, and I'm not sure if she wants to, but she's there, and I believe this is Jen, who's just dialed in from her car.
Jen, how are you?
Great. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Where are you right now? What can we do for you?
I'm in my mobile office. I just thought I'd log in and check out the show and see what's going on.
Well, thank you.
I know it's been a little sad today, I gotta say,
Yeah, well, some pretty deep emotions are not too far from the surface, but maybe you can give us your perspective on what you're doing. What are you doing? Why are you here? What would you like to talk about?
Well, I didn't know you were going to cut me in like this.
You didn't?
Addressing what just happened with that bronze statue. You might see my comments in the 411.
Okay.
That was what I logged on about, but hey, if you want to talk about that for a minute.
Well, that's okay. We can chat about whatever it is you logged in about.
Okay. Well, my page is Niagara Things to Do. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to check it out.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah. It's awesome. And it's basically, I'm trying to help out the businesses in the community during COVID and lockdown and everything else that's going on right now. Obviously, our community is taking a huge hit. And I'm really concerned about it, and I'm trying to help and do what I can and get out there and promote different restaurants, different events, different everything that I can. Obviously, with the Vax card rollout right now, this is going to take a serious toll on a lot of these said businesses. So I'm a little concerned about that, for sure.
So, Jan, what's your last name?
James.
Jan James.
I go by the boss, VIP. I actually am an antique dealer. What I really do is antiques and collectibles. I've done that for years. And when COVID rolled out, I tried to help out the restaurant community by doing foodie vlogs and stuff. So I kind of segued a little bit out of antiques just for a bit.
Okay, and now you have the a Facebook page called Niagara Things to Do, right?
Yes, and it's going really well.
Is that what it's called, Niagara Things to Do? I'm just trying to pull it up here, Jen.
Yeah, it's so it's Jan James on Niagara Things to Do is one of my pages, as well as the boss.vip, but it's Niagara, upper lowercase, and then Things to Do, all uppercase with an exclamation mark. You'll see a lot of my postings. I've been doing a lot of feeds all summer through Clifton Hill, through Niagara Falls. Just finished doing the zip line the other day. I mean, that was mind-blowing. I can't even tell you how amazing that is. And guys, I'm really sorry to even bring all this up today because, being what's going on, and I didn't wear my orange, but I am wearing my Canada because it is all about Canada. Right? So,
no need to apologize at all. It's what the show is for. We bounce around. We have always said from the beginning of this program that we will talk to anybody about anything, and this is precisely our mandate, is to help people like yourself in Niagara that are trying to do something or have something that they want people to know about. It's precisely the reason that we are here, and I'm really glad you came on today. That now the zip line is one of those attractions that it had to close for a while because the whole COVID effect of everything was pretty huge in Niagara because of the size of our entertainment, tourist, and service industries. But we're underway now, and we're showing right now your video that gets you ready to go on the zip line. So, were you a little bit antsy about it, or not?
Oh my God! I mean, there's so many amazing things to do in the Niagara region. I think we all know that. And I'm actually an import from Toronto, so I came here 12 years ago. And of course, there's an abundance of things to do in Toronto. But when I got down here, I realized, hey, there's even more things to do here, technically, when you think about it, and better things, better attractions, better of those adrenaline pumping and rushing bucket list items, I'd even say, because even though it might be a bucket list item, I mean, you can live your bucket list. You don't have to be on the verge of on your way out, to enjoy everything you might have wanted to put on that bucket list, right? Yeah. And that includes like the zip line. I met a couple that were tourists that were actually in from out of town when I was down at the Clifton Hill area. And, they were both walking on canes and stuff. And we got talking. They asked me, what did I think were the ultimate things they should be doing? And other than the fact that you have to climb a whole bunch of steps to get up to the zip line launch, if there was a way to get them up there, I would say that was the thing to do. Is there a way to, and they said they could make it up the stairs, even though they were walking with canes. So if you can get up there, I highly recommend the zip line to anybody and everybody because it challenges what your deepest fears are. And
like falling.
That's kind of what I saved for the end of all my posts, because I was like, I know I'm going to do it. It's just a matter of when am I going to do it? When am I going to get up the nerve to do it? And when I finally did it, I was so happy that I did. And I must say, it was like seeing a piece of heaven up there.
All
That's don't describe it.
Jan, we got to move on, but I appreciate you coming on. Niagara Things to Do. Everybody check it out on your Facebook search page, and we'll talk again, I'm sure. Thanks for highlighting so many things in Niagara.
Thanks for having me. Love it. Thank you so much.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. That's kind of cool. A lot of businesses getting some recognition, and as things open back up. Nice. Do we have Wayne standing by?
Yeah, I'm just bringing him back in here now.
Okay, cool.
So we'll do that.
So-
And you know what? I'm going to throw up a little story that the Buffalo News did on Wayne, and you can kind of take it from there.
I shall. So there we go. There's Wayne. And the quote is, "Just let me go to the game." Canadians Bills fans shut out from the stadium. And, well, obviously, COVID related. And Wayne Kretz joins us now. Owner, operator of Manhattan's Bar and Grill here in St. Catharines over on Vine Street, but also operator of an organization called Niagara Sports Trips. Hey, Wayne, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for joining us on the program today.
Sure.
And so I know you, along with all the other restaurateurs, are just finally getting to their feet back under them after a long time. But tell us about the Niagara Sports Trips and what this story is all about right now. Tell us about that.
The sports trip started maybe 15 years ago. It was a business idea that I had to just. I like to go to sporting events. It was hard to get to some of them, so I thought it would be cool if we did a bus. I worked for the Ice Dogs for a while and had some good relationships with the bus companies. So when I got a bar, it just seemed like a natural progression. We did 1 or 2 trips and then 4 or 5 trips. We do about 20 a year now. We go to Montreal, we go to New York City, we go to Boston, we go to Dunedin. But a lot of them are going to Toronto to see the Jays, going to Buffalo to see the Bills, even concerts, anything really.
So why are we talking about this right now? Obviously, that part of your business has, other than perhaps doing the events in Ontario, but even the events in Ontario are just finally starting to open up. Why are we talking about this? What's going on with it?
Well, it's dried up completely since COVID. Our first one that we're going to get to do is this Saturday. We're going to Toronto to see the Jays in Baltimore, so that'll be cool.
Yeah.
But I got a call from the Buffalo News last week and I'm a season ticket holder with the Bills. I do bus trips over there. And I've talked to them a few times, and they thought, can we do a story just like what's going on? Because a lot of Americans just assume the border's back open and that we can go there just like they can come here. And of course, we know that's not the case.
Yeah.
So that was the story. Was I think it's 31% of season ticket holders in the Bills are Canadians, and we can't go. I had a bus trip that was ready to go this Sunday. We were going to go see the Houston game. I had 54 tickets. It was sold out. Kind of anticipating the border was going to open, and then the American one didn't, and we had another month, and luckily the team took it back and bought the tickets back from us. But it was just a story about us being shut out and not being able to go over and watch our team.
And so I'm assuming, well, let's assume, I'm assuming, but maybe I shouldn't. Let's assume that October 21st, the date that we've been told, the land borders actually do open up from Canada into the United States as well as the other way. I'm assuming that people that go on your trips are still going to have to show the proof of vaccination, and you've got those extra hoops to jump through, right?
I imagine. We haven't been told. There's no news on it, but it's safe to assume, and we'd probably want them to be vaccinated. We're going to be in tight quarters in the bus. I know the rules right now for our Toronto trip is the bus is fine. You just have to have your mask on. We can all sit on the bus together. The first row isn't available, so the driver has a little bit of a buffer zone. But other than that, the buses are a go. So until I hear more from the border or from the States or from our government, everything's in a holding pattern right now.
Yeah, okay. How do we keep up to date with what's happening with Niagara Sports Trips, your company? You've obviously got a page somewhere, Facebook or something?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, Niagara Sports Trips. It's linked to the Manhattan Bar and Grill page. Really, most trips sell out. We put signs up at the bar and we do our posts, and it's been about 4 years now, so we've got a pretty nice following. So we'll do a post and say, hey, there's a new trip announced. We're going to do this trip. Who's interested? And it fills up in a day or two.
I can't think of a real much of a better way to go see a major sporting event. It's something, especially something as raucous and as crazy and well attended as an NFL football game. Rather than go in a group like that on a bus, it's worry free. You don't have to worry about driving and parking and all the. Because if anybody watching has ever driven into an NFL football game in Buffalo, they know what I'm talking about. I'd much rather somebody else do the driving.
Well, yeah, and then we with our trips, we supply the food, we supply the drinks, we park the bus close to the stadium, so you don't have any of that hassle. And then if you've been to a Bills game, sometimes you get a little bit out of hand, and somebody's there to safely drive you home. So that's a nice little touch that we always have.
That's cool. So here's fingers crossed for border openings in the next 3 weeks or so. Wayne Kretz, thank you very much. How are things going at the restaurant with this vaccination passport thing? Everybody behaving themselves?
For the most part, we've had a couple of people that want to make a point of their not agreeing with the government standards and thinking that it's something that we can control, but 99.9% of the people just, they have it in their hand, they flash it, they come. We've got a decent group of regulars that aren't vaccinated yet. We're fortunate to have a big patio outside and the weather's cooperated. So far okay. We'll see what happens when the snow starts flying. When they're not quite as happy to sit out there, but so far so good.
And Lee, I was just going to hop in here. I wanted to touch on, just the differences between us going there and them coming here. Wayne, you were telling me the story about the photographer that actually came over. So, somewhat easy for him to come here, yet we can't go there.
Well, and it was funny when they did the story over the phone, and he said, "I'm going to send a photographer over to get a picture." And I'm like, "Well, I have pictures. The NFL Network was here a couple of years ago for a Bills playoff game. I've got some great pictures." He's like, "No, we like to use our own." And the photographer had to go and get a test. At the paper's expense, and then drive all the way over here. He's here 15 minutes, takes a couple of pictures. Like it was a picture like this. It's me and my bar. And,
so
and
they
then off he
took.
goes.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty cool that they took the trouble to do that.
Yeah, I was surprised, and he showed some video. I don't know what they did with it, but we did a little mini interview. But It was a couple of pictures, and off he goes.
That's great. Well, Wayne. Again, I know we're sort of in a holding pattern, but hopefully things will open up soon. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be here with us, and hopefully we can get the bus trips underway again soon.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Nice to talk to you.
Take care, man.
Okay, man.
All right, well, let's stick with the restaurant business for a second, Kevin, and we're going to come right here to home at Fiddler's Poorhouse on St. Paul Street. We're just a stone's throw from the Rankin Bridge that connects St. Paul Street with the Meridian Center, where the Ice Dogs play and the concerts are, etc. So that kind of gives you an idea of our juxtaposition here on St. Paul Street. And we sit in this beautiful open-air window. This lovely garage door goes up, and we've got a nice breeze in here today. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot. Nice place to come watch your sports, etc. But there was a fellow who showed up in broad daylight for something in the afternoon, and he was captured on video, or at least a camera here at Fiddler's. Fiddler's Poorhouse did put a post up, and then Nick at Niagara 411 put a post up, and there's the dude right there. Now, he walks into an open business in the middle of the day, middle of the business's day, for something. They open at noon, and ends up schlepping around inside the restaurant and makes his way to a room where he goes through drawers and shelves and such like, and manages to make off with a fair bit of money in coin, and off he goes. Pretty brazen move, but that was here. If you see those shots on Facebook, that happened here at Fiddler's Poorhouse, and we're looking for this guy, obviously. So
now,
if you have any knowledge, as they say,
Lee, the word that I got is that this guy's going around town.
This isn't the only place.
Apparently, the same guy hit Antica Restaurant in Niagara Falls, and I know how many people love that family-run business down in the Falls. Antica, they're supposed to have the best pizza anywhere. and then 4 other restaurants. So same guy responsible for hitting 6 restaurants, at least that we know of. And it's this guy right here. And I do want to add for clarity, Lee, is that normally this area wouldn't be accessible to people at the restaurant. But because of COVID, they put the patio in the back parking lot. So now people are walking through a hallway that they otherwise wouldn't.
Correct, yeah.
Because people wonder, like, well, why do they have access? Well, it's kind of a COVID thing.
Yeah. Everything is kind of a COVID thing, isn't it? Or a COVID X thing, or a derivative of it, whatever.
Gosh, Lee, we're real busy here. I'm not going to give you a chance to do anything because our buddy Sully is joining us. Last week he was Kingston area.
Yeah.
How are you guys?
Hey, we are great, William. William O'Sullivan, by the way, is on a mission. He was walking from St. Kevin's in Welland here in Niagara up to Parliament Hill in Ottawa. And the last time we talked with William Sullivan, he was in Kingston. Where are you now, mate?
I am on Thousand Islands Parkway in between Rock Point and Brockville.
All right. So you went through.
I was going to take Highway 2 up into Ottawa, but then the police stopped us and said, "You know what? You got to take the Thousand Islands Parkway," and I am so grateful we did.
Okay, why?
Just the scenery out here is absolutely stunning. The Thousand Islands, all the cottages on them, and the changing of the colors. And I'm one of the most fortunate men in the world to be walking this country right now.
Did you get through Gananoque?
Went through there, absolutely gorgeous. All kinds of photos we got through there, just beautiful.
Yeah, it is a lovely part of our province, the Thousand Islands area. Absolutely. I lived in Kingston for about 10 years, so I'm pretty familiar with it. And they are beautiful. So are you just on a break right now, or are you still walking?
No, I'm walking. I'm out here walking, man.
Yeah, you look like you were walking.
Right. I got my support driver right behind me there, Jenny.
Now, you said last time we talked, William, that you had an event that was going to be happening at City Hall or an official place in Kingston after we got off the air last week. How did that go? How did your visit in Kingston wrap up?
It went very, very well. We did a couple of protests in Belleville, and the Diocese of Kingston chimed in on it and blamed the survivor or the people inside the church not having a good service because we were outside distracting them. Okay. So I thought, and of course her name's Karen Shannon, the communications director from the Kingston Diocese. Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know what, I'll give you a chance to explain yourself in person and then call the paper maybe and retract what you said. I went down to the diocese to protest for 4 hours, and they ignored me completely. Nobody came outside the building. They were all in there taking photos, of course.
What was it she said that you wanted her to retract, William?
When we went to the church, the person that did the interview called Karen Shannon at the diocese for a comment, and she said, although we respect Mr. O'Sullivan's right to peaceful assembly, we want him to respect the right of our parishioners being able to pray in peace. I have never taken my megaphone out during a service, ever. Mm-hmm. I wait until it's done. Mm-hmm. So the way it looked like in the article, let's blame the survivor again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I went there to get her to try to explain herself, and she wouldn't come out of the building. So sat there on the megaphone and called out each perpetrator priest that came out of Kingston.
Let's blame the survivor again. That's quite a mantra to remember. That's quite a quote. And for those folks that might not have seen our chat last week, one of the things that I mentioned about you is that you have a mission, you have a passion, but you're not an out of control zealot. You have respect for the church and many people who are involved with that, but your call to recognize the bad apples in the barrel is very well thought out and very passionate. And absolutely, there's no
way I will ever, from now until the day I die, be deterred from my mission ever. Nobody will deter me ever. We went to St. Mary's Cathedral in Kingston to protest, and the priest came out and talked to me, and that went over good. But 2 parishioners came out of the church wanting to fight me. Again. These guys are in service with God himself, and they're coming out wanting to start violence. Like, come on, guys.
Well, I know you've got a ways to go, and I hope the rest of your day and trip goes well. And continue to check in with us, if you would, Sully, because we want to keep track of what's going on.
Absolutely. I'll give you guys a call again next Thursday.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
Yeah, stay well.
Peace.
All right, Kevin. It's nice that somebody like Sully will call and check in, because we have these conversations with folks, and then often it's a little bit hard to keep track of their progress. So that's great that he did that, and I believe him that he says he'll do it. Call us again next week. He is an amazing guy. He seems so, in spite of the tragic things that he experienced, and others that he knows, and others that he doesn't even know. He outwardly seems so balanced in his approach, which is always, I think, astounding for somebody that's experienced those kinds of things. Wow.
And you know what? He's using this show and this platform exactly as we had envisioned.
Yep.
If you've got a cause, we don't turn anybody away. If you hop in the green room, just click that Zoom link, and you can talk about something that you're passionate about. You can talk about an upcoming event, something you believe in.
Yeah. We don't even care if you don't want to wear an orange shirt. It's okay. Your shirt color is your choice.
You know, they're actually hard to come by.
They are.
It was difficult. Brandon, who co-owns WeeStream with myself, he put up a post that was shared many times by people across Niagara, detailing with phone numbers the places that you could buy orange shirts in Niagara where the money went back to Indigenous causes.
Right.
And all of them were sold out of shirts.
But that's kind of a good sign.
It absolutely is, but it leaves the rest of us that want to buy shirts and support wondering, where do we go?
You know what used to drive me a little bit crazy is when, I guess it was the Bay that always used to sell the gear about like the Canadian Olympics with all the Canada stuff on it, with the rings and the whole thing. And I'd walk by after the Olympics, walk by the shelves, and they'd still loaded with gear. So, and then I'm thinking, hey, it's too bad that it didn't sell out. But in this case, the exact opposite is true. They are sold out, so
Absolutely.
That's really good.
Interesting side note there, Lee. You're right. It has been the Bay for so many years. The Canadian Olympic Committee just signed a deal for 4 Olympic Games with Lululemon.
Oh, well.
So our Olympic gear will now be found at Lululemon. It's interesting, for 4 Olympic Games, but it only goes until like 2028.
Right.
Because they're jamming them in now.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
the next 4 Olympics. I love the Olympic gear.
I don't know if I have the physique for a Lululemon, but we'll give it a try. I guess you could wear a Lululemon toque or something. Speaking of toques, speaking of hats.
Oh, sorry, I was throwing this up for you here, but
That's okay.
No, you want to talk Beau Chapeau?
Yeah, I'll do it. I can do it later. I dropped my cards. I had some really cool cards to show you. I'll do it next week. But yes, wow, we've got some noisy vehicles going around here today. Don't worry about it, Kev. I'll get them later.
No, I'll grab them.
Anyway, so we'll talk about that in a bit. Here's a collision that took place. And it's not unusual that there are many notes up on Niagara 411 about vehicle collisions and crashes, etc., because there are lots of them. And we have access to who does what, where, when, and how. And it's a public service that Nick provides for, thank you, Kevin, that Nick provides the viewers of Niagara 411 to let people know where there's a problem. Okay, now that being said, most of them are not of note. They're, intersection. They're fender benders for the most part. There are some serious ones, unfortunately. But here's one that I was really surprised about. So, if you are familiar with this intersection, it is where Scott Street, one of the main east-west thoroughfares in the north end of St. Catharines, crosses Geneva Street, which is one of the main thoroughfares north-south, and it's a very busy but very large, well-marked with street lights, like with stoplights, intersection.
So where are we talking here? Here, I'll get up to
Right at the corner,
Scott Street.
just not too far from the Fairview Mall.
There's Scott Street there.
It's north of where the Queen Elizabeth Highway goes over.
There it is right there. Scott and Geneva. That
Geneva, yeah.
There's that big parking lot with either a school or a church there. There you go, Central Community Church.
Yeah, there's the church there. There's a school around there because the speed limit zone is like down to 50 or 40 when the lights are flashing. It's a really, really well-marked, busy intersection. Now, busy, I suppose, is the operative word. Where I'm going with this is the fact that you might have noticed when Kevin first put that up there, a 5-car accident. Now, you get 5-car accidents on things like the Queen Elizabeth Highway or the 406 or something like that. It's very rare that at an inner city, suburban, well-marked, with stoplights and the whole deal, intersection that you've got 5 cars. I can, like a couple, of course, somebody turns in front of somebody and, honk, smash. Somebody. Now, there is a large incidence in that area. Well, not just that area, probably all others, but at this intersection, because it is busy, people are trying to get through it, and I have witnessed many people running the yellows, if you will, and sometimes those yellows are turning to red or have turned to red by the time they go through the intersection. So that does happen, and I don't know what happened here. But Kevin, I just found it strange that a regular sort of main thoroughfare intersection where there aren't a lot of hidden views, there are 5 vehicles involved in an accident. I would love to talk to somebody that saw this. Here's a comment. This is a terrible intersection. My son lives near there and says there's an accident every other day. I was there and heard a crash a week ago. I hope everybody will be okay. As far as I know, there weren't serious injuries. But there's a shot from somebody's dash cam or from the inside of the cabin of their car. And I still don't have a sense of what happened.
There's the intersection there. I guess it looks maybe looking south, like back towards Fairview Mall.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Hard to say.
Hard to make that up.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so there's a motorcycle involved here. That motorcycle was lucky. He had a car in front of him, preventing him from entering the intersection. Wow, what was that person in the fit thinking? So obviously we know what happened, but I don't. If you can't see a solid red, it didn't look like they were distracted in the video, perhaps impaired. Did you see the video, Kev? I didn't see a video.
No, I didn't. I'll look for one. But obviously implying that somebody blew through a red.
Yeah, which does not surprise me, as I said, because I've seen those things happen before. But you would think it would be tough to have 5 vehicles. But if one was a motorcycle, it's hard for them to control them in certain circumstances. Somebody makes one wrong move, and a motorcycle doesn't have much of a chance. So, 5 of them, though. All right. I want to thank once again our sponsors for being with us. Gales Gas Bars, our title sponsor. Of course, Performance Heating and Air, saving your local family money on local HVAC stuff because they've got families here too. And WIC, high-speed internet, a solution to any and all of your what might be internet access or performance problems. And of course, for all of your insurance needs, be it home, auto, you name it, Verge Insurance Group. Thank you to Blake Shirk and his gang there. Beau Chapeau, whom I'm one of their stalwart customers, have been for years, but they were kind enough, knowing that I like hats. Kevin, not my Kevin, their Kevin, Kevin Neufeld, owner of Beau Chapeau Hat Shop on Queen Street in Niagara, and like, hello, girls. And I sort of went into an agreement. He said, give me a shout out now and then, and we'll help you wear some cool hats. Well, case in point, this chapeau is the same one I wore last week. I tried to change it up a bit, but the blue and the orange, I thought, it was a better match. But here are a couple of cards I got for you. Now, this is the hat is part of the man, is the quote. Beau Chapeau Hat Shop, over 10,000 hats in stock at any given moment. So that's the.
Here, let's see if I can get that. Here, let's.
Yeah. But there. Now, my son, see that traditional style fedora on that good-looking fella's head there? I think my son bought me one of those for my birthday. I just don't have it yet.
Two angles of Lee.
I'm excited.
Hey, look at behind the scenes here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at this professional staging.
Well, actually, you should come around here. Do that. Come around here.
All right.
This is what WeeStreem does. This is not just somebody pointing a cell phone. How many cell phones do you have that you use here, Kevin? About 13 or so?
Oh yeah, about that.
Yeah. So this is what I'm looking at when you're looking at me. Kevin's got all the gear there, and the routers, etc. Some of them are over on the bar. We have an outdoor camera that provides the streetscape that we use when we're coming from the office down there in the booth. And yeah, it's state-of-the-art stuff. This is what you would see as far as quality programming is concerned on any of the major news channels, be it CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, CHCH, CTV out of Toronto, any of them, at a fraction of the expense and staffing that would normally be the case for that kind of quality program. So that's why we're able to do what we do. It is homegrown here in Niagara, thanks to WeeStream, Kevin Jack, and Brandon Scram, and all of their efforts. And nobody else is doing this across the country. People are sort of dabbling in it, but not anywhere to this degree of consistency and professionalism. So that's our little.
Thank you very much, Lee.
You're welcome. That's our little shout out to, and for a dinosaur like me, it's been really cool because I have been able to learn new things about how the new media works, because I was part of the cursed mainstream media. Ooh, bad media. Ooh, for 47 or 8 years or whatever it is, and it's nice. Now, this other card. See this one? You don't have to get out of your seat for this one, Kevin. But what the front of the card says is, we buy vintage hats, and this is another cool thing that they do. We buy and restore vintage hats. And if you have a beloved vintage hat you would love to see go to a good home, just drive your hat into Beau Chapeau, give it a new lease on life. They'll bring them back to life. And if you want to give the hat to a worthy cause, they'll rejuvenate it, give you 50% of its value or whatever. Anyway, if you've got an old Chapeau kicking around, hey dude, how you doing?
There you go Leafs, go!
Yeah. All right. So that's another thing, another offering that they have. All right, so that takes care of business. Coming up on the program, as always, we have a Niagara musical act that will play us off the stage. Now, it was a couple weeks ago or so that Kevin and the WeeStream organization streamed the annual Mayor of Welland's charity function in Welland, and it just a lineup of fabulous Niagara talent.
Yeah,
so
if I can run through it, we had
sure.
Oh gosh, we started with the Mandevilles. It was all scaled down acoustic stuff, so the entire Mandevilles weren't there.
Yeah.
It was Serena and then somebody accompanying her.
Right.
We had Barb Mantini. We had Revive the Rose, Street Pharmacy.
Revive the Rose we had on last week, didn't we?
Yeah, Revive the Rose.
They were
played
awesome.
Acoustic version of their song that just got released, I think, on Friday. And I think that's like a hit. It sounds like the Trues. If the radio picks up on this, sky's the limit for Revive the Rose. Street Pharmacy. It was really cool, really cool. And the artist we're going to feature here is Brooke Georgino, and she's got a sultry jazz feel to her. And I was really enamored with the performance and also her song selection.
So Brooke Georgino's coming up in just a couple of minutes. One of the things, Kevin, I wanted to do as well is do a little bit of self-promotion for this program, Niagara 411 Live with Lee Sterry, because it is not just one-trick pony that appears on Niagara 411 site live every week. It also appears on the Gales Gas Bar site. It appears on all of the Facebook sites, etc., of our sponsors, as well as WeeStreams. When I remember to do it, I share it on mine as well. But this is not the only forum. We are on Twitter as well. You can follow us on Twitter. All you have to do is do the regular search. It's easy to find people. Niagara 411 Live, and up will pop. As well as all of our programs from its very inception are archived on YouTube. And if people want to go back and have a look at some things or catch an interview they might not have caught in the beginning, Kevin, where on YouTube do they find us? Do they do that? How do they do that?
If you search for Niagara 411 Live, it'll pop up, and they're all on the WeeStream channel. So you could search on YouTube for WeeStream with 2 E's in both We and Stream, or Niagara 411 Live. Make sure there's an underscore. But like you said, there's so many ways to find anything nowadays that you'll find us. But you're right. It's all archived on YouTube. It's all archived on the WeeStream Facebook page, on the Niagara 411 Facebook page. So it's everywhere. And
you hear a lot about podcasting and people wanting to get into podcasting and how popular it is, and it is growing in popularity. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And we do podcast this program as well, and of course that would mean the program without pictures. So sometimes if we seem to be explaining what you're seeing on the screen in a little bit more detail than might be necessary, that is because we're doing that for the podcast audience as well. It's not a huge part of our business, but it just shows you can go anywhere. Like if you're in your car and you've got a podcast platform you use, you can find us. So, and that's kind of neat, and it's kind of fun. I was talking to somebody the other day, Kevin, who was thinking of I think I'll start a podcast. That's kind of like saying, I think I'll build a car. I think I'm gonna start building a car tomorrow. There are 70. What is it? What is the number? Around 70 million podcasts that are available from all over the world through your little device. Isn't that astounding? How do you expect to cut through? Well, that was also one of the mandates of this program when it got going, is the fact that it's cutting through, because it's not just a podcast. It's not a couple of people that think they know something about something yapping for 45 minutes. It's something that is important to Niagara. It's Niagara based. It is. We do partner with Nick at Niagara 411 Live and all of his contributors for content. So it's something.
We're undefinedly.
We are undefined. You know what?
We don't fit into any of the boxes, this show.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to have to come up with what they call an elevator pitch. When somebody says, like, what is it you do? Well, here it is.
Yeah. I mean, the closest thing, it's a TV show. It's a live TV show. It's just that we're not on traditional television. So I guess by definition, it's not a TV show.
Exactly. But it is.
It's more a TV show than it is a podcast. So if anybody has any great ideas, maybe we can coin a new phrase for what this is. Because any of the podcasts that I've seen that add video to it, the video is secondary.
Yes.
And it's usually sloppily handled. Where on this, the video is primary.
Yeah, what you're seeing is what you're watching is the key. What we do is provide context for what it is you're looking at. I've even tried to describe it to people who know me and know what I do, and every now and then you get the RCA dog thing, like,
huh? Come again?
Yeah.
What's that?
Is it?
Yeah, so we're looking for a nice little term, because we're not a podcast, we're not a TV show.
Yeah.
There's no real phrase.
Yeah.
People call it video podcast, but that's not what this is.
Because if there were a bunch of awards or something for this genre, we'd probably have a couple by now, but we can make up our own awards.
They don't have a category.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a lot of fun, and it's great being able to speak with Niagarans like we spoke to today. And again, a couple of the stories, heart-wrenching, but we're so pleased that the people wanted to join us. Kelly Campbell, the mom of Alex and Paige, her family is a shambles right now. Her husband, ex-husband, Clayton Misener, against court orders, took her children to the east and went further than Canada, and is now residing in the French island of Saint Pierre. There's 2 French Republic islands out there, Saint Pierre and Miquelon. That's where the father took the girls. That's where mom is right now as well, and frankly, it's a mess. And our hearts go to them, but also our thanks to Kelly Campbell for coming on to tell that side of this story that seemed to be very one-sided. And, you know, as they always say, there's one side, and then there's the other side, then there's the truth. So, but it seemed legitimate, and either way, they've been through an emotional roller coaster that none of us should ever have to put up with. And for her to come into this, into this environment and tell her story and be so upfront with it takes a lot of strength, and we thank her for that. Brian Kahn, Indigenous lead of the Niagara Catholic District School Board, talking about Orange Shirt Day and this National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Thanks to him for being here. Wayne Kretz, Manhattan's owner and operator of Niagara Sports Trips. Appreciate your story as well. Also, Willie O'Sullivan on his trip to Ottawa. Jan James running Things to Do in Niagara on Facebook. We've had quite a bunch in here today. Kev, it's been a good show.
Has been, and kudos to you, Lee, for manning the ship and doing a professional job as always.
I thank you very much. It's a pleasure every week, and we're going to be hearing from Brooke. I knew I was Georgino. Brooke Georgino. Just think of the Georgino. Brooke Georgino performing at the Welland Mayor's Charity events 10 days or 2 weeks ago or so, streamed by WeeStream as well. Great entertainment, and she's going to play us off the stage today. Have yourselves a fabulous weekend, and remember, truth and reconciliation. Have a great one, guys and gals.
Running all over town, and I had nowhere to go. But now I'm grown, I'm all alone. And now I'm grown, I'm all alone. When my mama held her baby, she knew I was already crazy. She didn't know how to raise me, but look at me now, I'm a lady. But now I'm grown, alone, and now I'm gone, I'm all alone. Don't need no one to tell me, I know I might be a little messy, yeah, I know. Don't you know, I do what I want, I do what I want, I do what I want, I do what I want. I do what I want, I do what I want, I do what I want, I do what I want. Well, this next one came before me. It's about my older brother. It's not much of a story. I guess I could say he's a runner, but now he's grown. He's all alone. He's all alone. Well, there's a reason I'm telling you where I come from, and I got this feeling that they aren't bad people, and it's not worth keeping. That we've all got demons. I'm just trying to find freedom. Oh, I do what I want. 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 I do Thank you.